Hello viewers, and welcome back to yet another retro channel. As you can see, we're continuing with the C64 Repair-a-thon. What you're looking at here is all 8 boards back from their bath. We're going to dig into number 1 today. Before we get to that though, there is someone I want to introduce you to, so take a look at this. I wanted to give you a little introduction today to someone you haven't seen on the channel yet, but who you probably will see peeking in from time to time. This guy, his name is Oliver. He is not quite 2.5 years old. He's a shelter rescue that I got during the first wave of the pandemic to keep me company and keep me from going insane. He's a great companion, aren't you, buddy? He is, for those of you who are interested, he is a mixed breed. He's primarily Great Pyrenees and American Staffordshire Terrier with several other breeds mixed in smaller portions. As I said, he's about not quite 2.5 years old. He was born in November of 2020, and I got him in February of 2021. So I've had him for just over 2 years. He is a very good boy. He usually stays quiet, and he usually doesn't bug me too much on the channel, but I'm sure, like I said, he'll be peeking in from time to time, so I wanted to let you know who it was and what you were seeing, and that's my buddy. All right, so that's my trusty companion. Now, I guess it's time that we get stuck in, so here we go. Well, let's get started, shall we? What you're looking at in front of you is machine number 1. This one was black screen, no dead test. It's been, like I said, it's had a thorough bath, washed in warm soapy water. What I do is, first thing I do is remove all the socketed chips. I remove the lids from the VIC and clock circuitry can and from the RF modulator. I take off the port bracket on the side, and a step that I know I'm probably going to get comments on this, I go ahead and pull the power switch. And the reason I do that is because I don't want to get water inside the switch. 2 reasons. One is, I believe, and I've heard others say the same thing, that if you get water inside the switch, it can dislodge or displace some of the lubrication that is put into these things when they're built. So I don't like to do that. And also, probably more easy to understand reason is that you get water inside this switch, it will take forever to dry, and that can obviously cause you problems. So I don't want water inside it because I want to keep the lubrication intact, and I want to have to wait 3 years for it to dry. The switches on all these machines were working when we tested the power in the initial video, so I'm not too worried about that. There's a good movement on this switch, so I don't feel like it's not jamming. So if I do need to fix it at any point, these can be opened up. You can clean them inside, clean the contacts, clean and lubricate the mechanism. So I don't use deoxit inside the switch, and I don't leave them on for the bath. So we'll have to put that back on before we do any testing. Then I take the board, and as I said, I use warm soapy water, just simple dish soap. Scrub it with a brush in that soapy water and rinse it thoroughly. You don't want to leave any of the soap residue on the board, so rinse it thoroughly. and then I let it dry at minimum 24 hours, but these boards have been drying at this point for 5 days. So by the time we get to the others, it'll be, quite a bit more than that. The only area of concern is underneath the RF modulator. If water gets under there, it could take longer to dry. I don't remove the RF modulator for the wash process because it is a pain to remove those. The mounting points are difficult to desolder. Obviously the connections for the circuitry is not bad, but the connections that hold the can in place, those can be a bit of a pain in the butt to remove and replace. So I leave that undone. So it's time at this point to recheck our power. That's the first thing we need to do. But we need to get the power switch soldered back on to do that. So let me take care of that. And I will take care of cleaning my mess up at the end. There's no point in doing it over and over again, as I may need to obviously do more rework. We'll just clean it up one time when we're done. We have the board working again. So with our switch back in place, we can go ahead and connect power. And we have our multimeter in voltage mode. So with the power on, we should be seeing 5 volts here. And we're getting a good 5.03. And 12 volts here, 11.96. That's good. On the CPU, go between ground and pin 6. 4.95. That's good. And then all the way over here on the user port, 4.95. And our AC, 10.45 AC. Okay, our power rails still look good. So we can go ahead and repopulate some of the ICs to get ready for a dead test. I am only going to populate at this point the 3 necessary ICs for dead test. Dead test requires the VIC-ii, the CPU, obviously, and the PLA. Okay, that's minimum for the dead test. And we need our video output. All right. Oh. All right, we're still getting nothing from dead test. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull these 3 chips. Since these 3 are now suspect, pull them, and I'm going to grab our trusty ZIF machine. first we're going to go ahead and power up the ZIF machine and make sure our connections are good and make sure this machine is working. And we've got a good connection to the monitor and capture device. And there we go. We've got a good test bed. So the first thing I'm going to check is the CPU. The 6510 into the ZIF socket. All right, our CPU is good. So we will give that a tick mark. Put our original CPU back, and then we'll test the VIC-II. And yes, I'm doing it in this order because I suspect the PLA of being bad. So, VIC-II, so good. That's good news. That's an expensive repair. If that goes bad, put our known good VIC-II back. And now, where I suspect the problem lies, the PLA. And here we go. There it is, folks. Bad PLA. Not a big surprise. We all know that the PLA is probably one of the most common faults on the C64. So, let's put our known good PLA back in and just make sure. Yep, works with that PLA. So, I'm going to put a big old X on that PLA as a bad part. And we're going to swap back to the board under test. We may still need this again, though. We haven't checked all the other chips. So here's the board under test. And we will drop in again. Oh, this time I'm going to do what I forgot last time. Washing these boards with all the chips out, even if you had deoxided the sockets, which I had, you need to redo it because you will have washed out all the deoxid. And I did forget something earlier. One of the chips I removed from the board was a logic chip, and it will not run without that logic chip. So my initial testing was actually faulty, but we did find a bad chip, so we'll go from there. Let me put this logic chip back in. There we go. And now CPU. It doesn't look like I bent anything, but who knows. 2. And I know our PLA is bad, so I am going to grab Gal PLA. If you don't know what these are, I talk about them in some of my other videos, but what they are is a cheap and easy to create PLA replacement. Gentleman that came up with these, he wrote the fuse code for these two GAL chips. These are GAL 20V8s. He calls this project the PLA 20V8. You can order these little circuit boards from your favorite PCB manufacturer. I have some that I just received from PCBWay. I'm not sponsored, so don't worry about that. But they do a good job with their PCB creation. And then you just need 2 sockets, 2 gals. You can get gals from Mauser, DigiKey. I ordered some from AliExpress from China. I'm not too worried about them being fake, but they could be. We'll take a look at that when they come in. They haven't arrived yet. And then you need headers, and you solder that all together, and then you program the gals. There's a left and a right. You have to have both files. You program them in your little L866 programmer, and you have yourself a PLA replacement that's pretty good. One of my friends on YouTube, another YouTuber named Captain Commodore, he's been having some issues with them, but he's been exploring that and trying to figure out what's causing it and how to avoid it. But for the most part, these work pretty well. They're a very accurate reproduction of a PLA. So I'm going to use one of these. All right. Now, with the dead test, let's see what we get. We get dead test running. Let this run through. Now you will notice at the bottom that the times are wrong, but that's because there are no CIAs at this point. Okay, now we're not going to get any sound, obviously, because there's no SID in the board. So what I'm going to do at this point, we've gotten through one pass. More things we can test with the dead test. You can go ahead and put the CIAs back. Okay. And I'm going to replace the SID at this point as well, because we'll be able to at least hear if that's possibly working. We'll have to give it a more strenuous test when we're done. Okay, let's try this. Is that test going to run? Yep. So nothing is apparently killing the address bus yet, or the data bus. You see our clocks matching up, so that's a good sign for the CIAs. Well, that's a good start. Sounds like our SID might be good. So now I'm going to go ahead and add the ROMs back and test again to make sure that that they're not bringing down the buses. All right, there are our ROMs. Now our board is completely repopulated. See if the dead test still runs. And it does. So it looks like we're not getting any bus clobbering going on. All right, that sounds very good. So, onward and upward. Let's take out the dead test cartridge and try this with no cartridge installed and see if we get basic. Oh, jumped the gun pulling the power. And no, we do not. So we have a bad ROM. Let's see which one it is. To do that, I'm going to pull the 3 ROMs and bring back the ZIF machine. Okay. Bring back the ZIF board. Connect up. And I'm going to say I suspect the basic ROM first. I can't use that, it's too close to the ZIF socket. So, try in the ZIF machine with the suspect basic ROM. It's not the basic ROM, probably the kernel then. All right, pop basic back out. Put back our known good basic. Pull the kernel. And the kernel from the test machine. Yep, bad kernel ROM. Okay. That's not that big a deal. I do have one remaining spare kernel ROM, and then I can make as many as I need because I have a programmer. And let's just, to be on the safe side, go ahead and pop character and put in the machine under tests character ROM. Test that. Interesting. Looks like the character ROM may be bad as well. Oh, there it is. Why it took so long to come up? Try that again. Interesting. Well, we'll call that good then. That may be questionable, but I'm going to leave it marked good for now, unless we see something else. So we have a good basic, a good character, and a bad kernel. Back to our troublesome machine. restore the basic and character ROMs. And grab our one last spare kernel ROM. There we go. Okay, check this. Should have a working machine now. And we do. So, one last thing to do is to hook up the full diagnostic harness. Here's the diagnostic cartridge. Oh, I forgot to mention, the other thing that I did prior to washing the boards was I took the proactive step of using a fiberglass pencil on the edge connectors, cleaned them up. So we shouldn't have any issues because of a poor connection. If we have issues, it'll be because there's actually a problem. And here we go. Okay, that SID sounding funny, I think that was something to do with my capture setup, as we were getting some crackling even when there was no computer displaying through it. I think there are some issues with my capture setup, but other than that, we have a fully functional Commodore 64. So, what's the last thing we have to do? So we have to play a little SID music. And until I have something else of my own choosing, we're going to use Mr. Black's favorite. This is actually the keyboard from number 2, and it has not been serviced yet, so it may not be fully functional. But we're going to try it. Okay, there we go. And A, and okay, that will do it for this one. We're going to call it done. I'm going to mark it good, and today's date, which I don't know, 3/13/23. And my initials, and that's it. Thank you for watching, and look forward to the next video, number 2 machine. In the meantime, go ahead and if you like this video, please give it a like. If not, put a dislike. Go ahead, you know what to do. I would ask, if you are going to give me a dislike, please shoot me a comment as well and let me know what you don't like about it. That way I know how to improve in the future. I'm perfectly willing to take criticism, perfectly willing to take suggestions, and I will try to improve myself when I get those. Also, if you haven't already, please subscribe. Ring the notification bell so you get notified when new videos come out. And apart from that, we will talk to you next time. In the meantime, be well and have a good week. Thank you.